All right. Well, hello, all, and welcome back, all and sundry, whoever you are out there in the interwebverse. Okay, it is your good Jackson, and we're back. And joining me right now is my host and co host, Peter of Gonna Go For It fame.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon,
Good
wherever you are.
afternoon,
Yeah,
good night.
yes,
All right, that's the show.
yeah.
Hello. We got Tabula Rasa in the chat. Hello, hello.
Otherwise known as
Uh,
non.
non
Yeah,
a
YouTube.
non-watcher, if you will.
YouTube is still harassing people by putting up their handles instead of their channel names, which is
Hmm.
stupid because not everyone has their channel name as their handle. Oh, Smitty's here too.
All right. Hello.
By the way,
The
if we do get some weird noises,
Digidestined.
during the show. Um, this was 3 hours ago. A weather guy that I follow on Twitter said there's a thunderstorm coming. It's over the North Sea at the moment, so 3 hours ago, and that one was pretty active, doing 100 strikes a minute. So if
Oh,
that's gonna
okay.
hit here, gonna be fun.
Okay. Cool.
Considering my
Um.
my internet line is above ground for about 500 meters. Anyway, we'll see.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes. If we drop out suddenly, you'll
Hmm.
know why. It's the
Yes,
creationists in the wires.
yes.
Um. A a couple weekends ago, whatever it was, I did a show. I gave a talk at the Louisiana State Exhibit Museum on their mosasaur exhibit, which is by way of the Smithsonian, collected by a bunch of paleontologists at Southern Methodist University in Texas. So these guys went to Angola, which is on the western coast of Africa. They collected a bunch of mosasaur fossils as well as fossils of turtles, plesiosaurs, and a whole bunch of other really cool vertebrates and also invertebrates. And then the Smithsonian made this big display for them, and it's a traveling exhibit, so it's here in Shreveport right now. And so I spoke at it, and if you guys want to watch that, you can see me speak on the video. Um, whatever it was called, I think it's titled like "I spoke at the Louisiana State Exhibit Museum." I think is what I titled that. Um,
Yes.
so that was super fun. There were lots of kids there who asked lots of fun questions, like who would win in a fight, a plesiosaur or a mosasaur. What color were
I like the
mosasaurs?
catchphrase at the start. Today we
Hmm.
have a treat, a speech from Jackson Wheat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
that was the curator of
mhm.
the Louisiana State Exhibit Museum. She's super cool. She's a friend of mine, and so she and her team reached out to me a couple months ago and were like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing this?" And I said, "Heck yeah, I'd love to do it. Absolutely." Um, and so what's also cool is this upcoming weekend. So Saturday, the 11th, I'm going to be at, I guess, background in the place that I live, Shreveport, Louisiana. I know I just doxed myself. Oh well, you can come find me now. Um, I work at the aquarium, and so we're one of a couple STEM facilities downtown. The other one is this science museum called SciPort, and SciPort is hosting an event called Bug Bazaar. It's Bazaar, and the Bug Bazaar is going to have a guest speaker. Their keynote speaker is a guy named Coyote Peterson, who I'm aware of. I don't think I've watched his content, but Peter, have you heard of him?
No.
So what he does is he gets stung by like bees, wasps, ants, all sorts of things, and he rates the pain.
I think I saw something of his several
Yeah,
years ago. He
you probably did. Yeah.
yeah. It's
So
it's
he's going to
very
be.
hard to watch those videos, to be honest.
That's fair. Camilla and I, we watched one. I think it was called like Kings of Pain or something like that. They had 10 different critters, only 9 of which were venomous. The last one was, I think, a Burmese python that like they let bite their arm. But these guys would like, either let like a snake bite them or an ant or a wasp or whatever. I think they said the one that hurt the most was like a Vietnamese centipede, which we have at the aquarium, by the way. And so these guys just like let these various animals, hurt them, and so Coyote Peterson, as I understand it, got famous off of doing this sort of content. So now he's like a celebrity, and so he'll be the keynote speaker there at um, at this event, this Bug Bazaar event. So I'm very excited. I'll be there along with another guy representing the aquarium, and we're bringing a bunch of cool interactive animals that people can see and touch. So very exciting.
It's giving me flashbacks. I had a friend who, in the middle of the night, got lost somewhere and called me and said, "Hey, I'm stuck." So I drove over there to see if I could pull him out. He was split slightly in a ditch. Stepped out of the car and stepped on a wasp nest.
Oh
So
no.
his car, having the dome light in the car, was flooded by wasps. So he got out and he ran away a little bit,
Oh no.
but left the door open. So now who's gonna sit in the car when we attach a thing and try to pull it out? Turned out I was going to sit in his car because he was stung so many times already, so we needed a fresh person to go sit in the car.
Oh,
That
did you get
was
stung a bunch?
Yes. We got the car out, but it was one of the most painful things I've ever done.
Oh, that sucks.
And
Smitty
now I have
says,
my phone turned off at night. I never want to have that again. I mean,
Smitty says, for our non-American viewers, critter is American for creature. Yes, true. So yeah, so that'll be fun. I'm excited for this. It's gonna be a good time. So that'll be Saturday from like 9 to 2, I think. And well, I don't know if Nestle's going to make it today, but we're going to continue onward with watching Climate the movie, which is very. So I don't know if you guys remember, but this movie started out with a guy claiming there's a lot of money in climate change research. I don't know, public appearances, which is funny because the opposition to climate change research is multi-billion-dollar oil companies who make hundreds of billions of dollars. So it's really funny to hear someone say there's a lot of money if you're a little scientist who does atmospheric research. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Right, sure, there's so much money. Not for you, of course, getting paid by the oil company, tens of thousands of dollars at least, if not hundreds of thousands, to spew these lies. So whatever.
Yeah.
They're just the poor. Peter, have some sympathy for the poor whittle oil companies.
Now I understand. Now I understand why you chose science as a career path. I mean, if you're going to make
because
more
I don't
money,
want to make money.
If if you're going to make more money than the oil oligarchs, I mean, I did something wrong.
That's how you do it.
Way back then.
You go into biology.
Yeah.
You get multiple jobs. Yeah. You have a job at an aquarium, a job teaching at a college, or sometimes 2 colleges at once. Yeah, you do that, and that's how you get. That's what it takes. At any rate, so I just thought it was, Smitty says those poor mom and pop multinational petroleum corporations are barely scraping by. We all know Maddie is the wealthiest of the science friends. That's probably true. That's right. Because Maddie, who is shoot, what is her channel name? Quick, someone in the live chat. What is Maddie's channel's name? I'm so sorry. I'm drawing a blank.
Me too.
Oh God, what is her name? What's her channel's name? Oh, I feel so embarrassed right now. I can't remember. I forget. I'm a terrible friend. Oh, I'm the worst science friend now.
Well, I have an excuse. I'm old, so things just fly in and out of my
Sapphire,
brain.
what's her channel name, please? I can't remember. Science Side Up. There we go. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. I am so embarrassed. I forgot that. That's on me. Yes. Smitty says, meanwhile, climatologists are going to sleep every night on their piles of ill-gotten gold. Yes. They're like Scrooge McDuck, swimming through his sea of gold. That's what happens. So yeah, so Maddie over at Science Side Up, she is a climatologist. She does like the physics of like the atmosphere and climate and stuff like that, meteorology. And so yes, as we all know, she's just rolling in the dough. Me too, of course, as a science communicator, because we're all paid by, who is it? George Soros? Aren't we paid by George Soros, Peter, to like spread evolution or whatever, or Bill Gates maybe?
I lost track because for some reason my checks are not coming in. I don't know, because maybe it's because I live in a forest and there are no mailboxes here. Maybe that's it. I have no clue.
Peter, are you the show's you're our like token woodland spirit? Is that what you are, Peter?
Yeah. I mean, you'd think I saw all of this coming and just stepped away from society long before the shit hit the fan like it does now, but not regretting it though.
Yeah. Well,
there are times that you won't want to see or hear people. I mean, slight anecdote. My best friend is a Syrian refugee. He has a friend, a Turkish woman, who believes everything she sees on YouTube. I am not kidding you. So she's flat Earth. She's the dome. So he said, "Did you see the they're going to go to the moon?" that rocket that crashed in what was the Bermuda Triangle, obviously. And she showed a video where it disappeared off screen suddenly. Yeah.
Well, Peter, what you need to do is get her off that side of YouTube and show her like our side of YouTube, and then she'll be okay, I think.
I tried, but for some reason,
because she only believes YouTube,
Yeah, for some reason, those people are not going to do that, and that, to me, that's weird. I mean, I haven't heard back from him. Slight spoiler: you might have a guest on in the near future. This guest was on my show, saying that there were scientists, creation scientists had discovered that the Grand Canyon was formed after Noah's flood, which left a lake and a dam broke, or maybe multiple dams, they don't know, and then carved out the Grand Canyon. And he said secular scientists are also starting to believe that this might be the case. And I said, "Have you read those papers?" He said, "No." And I said, "Why haven't you read those papers?" He said, "Because I'm not interested." So I went on a rant saying, "Hey, listen, if I was a believer and the Bible was the most important thing in my life, and I believed everything in the Bible to be correct, and there would be scientific papers that actually confirm a story in the Bible, which is the Noachian flood that killed off humanity and everything else too. I would want to read those papers. And
You would
when
think.
I ask you why haven't you read it, you said I'm not interested, and he said I didn't say that. And I said this was a minute ago.
Is
I
this
ask
the guy we're having on next Thursday?
Yes.
Is that this guy?
Yes.
Okay. Who we're going to talk politics with?
And you know
Okay.
what? So I asked the people in chat, did you hear him say that? If so, press 1. And it was all ones in chat. And he still said, I didn't say that. Now, a couple of weeks ago,
course.
he also said that he didn't. He never lied. So I made a video of that. Him saying that, me asking him why he said that, and then saying, I never said that. I played him the video. And you know what his response was? I never said that.
Oh, this is going to be a great conversation. Don't tell Dapper anything about next Thursday. I want him to be completely blindsided, please.
I mean,
so yeah, Dapper and I, for anyone who's blissfully unaware, Dapper and I will be discussing Trump, I guess, with some Trumper guy who was telling me Trump does not like deregulation on Twitter, which okay. All right. That's a new one. That's a new one on me. It's really hard to watch the last like 12 years at the very least of Republican, politicians who use Trump as their guiding light, constantly talking about like gutting regulation and institution after institution, just to hear someone say Trump doesn't do regulations. Like, I don't, what do you even say to that? Like, open your eyes. Maybe I'll pay Peter. Maybe this is I can say, well, have you read anything about this? And he'll say, no, I'm not interested.
yeah.
Maybe,
speaking about reading, I mean, he only reads one book, obviously, because he's a young Earth creationist.
Right.
And guess what it is, Jackson? Guess what book he's reading?
What book is it?
So it's not the Bible.
It
is a children's
book.
It is a children's Bible because the actual Bible is too difficult for him to read. I'm not kidding.
It's above his reading level.
Yes. He has sent me videos about the Bible, which are videos made for children.
Okay. Sure. Why not? On that. Oh, Peter, I want to say one more thing before we get started with the video. So I don't know if you've been following, but in my great state, there was a piece of legislation I can talk, put forward that mandated the 10 Commandments be posted in every classroom. You may have heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now that obviously it was like the ACLU or whoever challenged it immediately, and you would think like, well, like every other instance of this law getting challenged, it would be immediately overturned as a violation of the Establishment Clause. But the answer is no. Or it was overturned at first by a lower court, but then I think it was the Fifth Circuit Court. It was a district judge who overruled it first, and then a Fifth Circuit Court overruled that lower judge, saying actually the posters of the 10 Commandments haven't actually gone up in the classrooms yet, so you can't rule against them since this hasn't happened yet. So you can't say something is illegal until after you've done it. Yeah. Right? That's how that works. Yeah. You can't prevent things. You have to wait to do it, and then you can say, oh, that was bad. That's how that works, I guess.
I mean, but it was a bill that it was supposed to be posted in there.
It was a bill initially that
the bill has passed. So you can go
It did.
against the bill that has passed. Whether or
You would
not
think.
people are acting on it or not, it's about the bill, not about people actually following up on it. Am I
Peter, you
wrong?
would think. You apparently that's shrimply incorrect. So yeah, Smitty says planning crimes isn't illegal anymore. Right? I guess not. I guess it's not
Yeah.
illegal, unless you're not a far right Christian nationalist. Then it is illegal. So watch yourself, Smitty. Watch yourself. Anyway, okay.
Okay.
I just thought you might find that funny because I live in a backward state and country. So, all right, let's do climate.
You're not by far. You're not the only one anymore. As I said, we have this Dutch guy called Mark Rutte who's constantly supporting Trump. I'm not so sure about my country anymore. Anyway,
it's a crazy world we live in. I mean, there are nationalists, far right nationalists, at the head of lots of countries right now, right? I mean, you have a Milei, I mean, you had Bolsonaro, who's not there anymore. We've had, Duterte, we've had Modi. There's just lots of nationalists recently, lots of nationalists in a lot of countries. Marine Le Pen, Viktor Orban, who is still in power. So there's a lot of bad guys.
In Germany, you got a guy who pronounced himself king. That he's a sovereign citizen neo-Nazi guy.
The Kaiser has returned, huh? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. Well, it's just going nuts.
Yeah. So let's watch a movie that has probably helped push the world towards being more nuts.
Yeah. Remember I told you about the thunderstorm? Watch how this movie starts.
Computers have calculated what is in store for us as we produce and consume ever more. The weather will get worse. The planet will boil. We greedy humans must accept limits on our lifestyle.
Well, pause for a second.
Consume less.
Okay, so no one's actually saying the planet will boil. The issue, of course, is that sea levels will rise. And correct me if I'm wrong, most of our major economic centers in the world are on or near the sea, right? So if you are living in one of these...
Some countries are, almost half of it is below sea level, which also worrying.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, right? I mean, like, look at China, for instance. Much of China's most developed areas are on the coast, right? These are all coastal areas. And so if you have sea level rise, you're going to get flooding in a lot of places. The same is true of the United States. In California, Oregon, Washington, you've got a bunch of big cities on that side, and on the West Coast and on the East Coast, you also have a whole lot of cities that are on the coast. And so if you have even like a little bit of sea level rise, you're going to get flooding of these areas. And this is being taken into account, by the way, by insurance companies, because insurance companies are seeing the writing on the wall and they do take the climate seriously. And furthermore, the weather, he mentions that he says the weather will get worse. The weather's already getting worse. You can look at the damage wrought by storms over the last 30 years, and it has ticked upward a lot, quite significantly. It gets higher pretty much every year. And that's because with this warmer atmosphere, these storms, these big like hurricanes and things can last longer and can therefore cause more damage. And so when he's saying like, oh, the weather will get worse, it's not it will get worse. The weather's already getting worse. We talked about this in the video we just released, the destruction of American healthcare. We show a graph indicating how the weather has already gotten worse. The temperature has already risen. And Peter, I don't know if you watched it, but Sapphire says, I've heard even banks are taking sea rise into account for their mortgages. Yes, yes, insurance companies, banks, yes, they are treating climate change and sea level rise very seriously because it is. And I mean, in Louisiana, in my own state, it will also be affected by sea level rise. We already have the erosion of the coast quite dramatically, and that, in addition to sea level rise, will put a lot of the state underwater. Okay, so yeah, so this is very serious. Um, so if you watch the video that we just put out, we talk about we show a graph showing how storms have gotten worse, temperature has gotten worse, has gotten higher, mortality, and this is of course correlated with increases in all cause mortality. This is correlated with decreased crop yields because if it gets hotter, it's more stress on the plants, which means they have to expend more energy to maintain homeostasis, which means less uh, energy that goes into making your food that you're harvesting these crops for. And what's funny, Peter, is you probably remember one of the claims of climate change denialists is that, well, we shouldn't really worry about more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere because that will help the plants. Well, I got bad
Yeah.
news for you. It doesn't. There's a thing called photorespiration that happens. That's where rubisco, which is this enzyme that's involved in the Calvin cycle, grabs oxygen instead of carbon dioxide, and it produces is it glycolate? I believe. I wish Nestle were here. He could be more specific about it. But the production of glycolate instead of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, what this results in is further buildup of this negative product, right? You have like a feedback loop. It just keeps feeding more and more. And so you don't make glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, which feeds into glucose. You make so photorespiration happens when the plants close their stomata because they're getting too hot, so they can't do gas exchange. So oxygen as a byproduct of oxygenic photosynthesis builds up, and then this causes photorespiration in the plant, and that's bad. It's a bad cycle. And so that's happening with plants. They're not plants can only adapt so far before they can't adapt further. And if you listen to like the narratives of these climate change denialists, first they were like, and Peter, I don't know if you watched it. Did you see that Professor Dave had Peter Hadfield on the other day, Potholer?
No, I missed that. I have to.
Oh, it's a
I've
good
been
talk.
watching several of the debates on his channel. So for some, maybe then YouTube doesn't give you the notification because I'm a huge
Maybe.
fan of Peter Hadfield.
Yeah, well, it was on Professor Dave's channel. So if you're not subscribed to Professor Dave, you might not have seen it. But so the two of them chatted, and Peter Hadfield made the point. He was like, "Well, the climate change denialists, they keep changing their shtick. First, it was climate change isn't real. You know, it's volcanoes, it's the sun, it's short term heating, but which will be followed by short term cooling, all these other things, but never it's carbon dioxide. And then as time went on, it became, well, okay, there's a little warming, but it's not that bad. And by the way, carbon dioxide is good for plants. To, oh, well, now it's too late to do anything about carbon dioxide. We're just going to have to adapt, right? Like it's always, there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do about it. It's either not bad enough to worry about, or it's the problem is already too big.
It's like
And
the
so-
young Earth creationists. It's moving the goalposts all of the time. If it's not
Right,
this,
yeah, it's
then we'll find something different. If you want to talk, we want to talk about biology. Oh, you are a biology professor. Okay, let's talk geology then.
Right, yeah, like with those guys with PZ, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dishonest, obviously, and then the guy just mentions at the very end of this, we have to change our lifestyles. Well, that's true. And now here's the thought. We have access to a source of energy that, while it is expensive, it is also or produces more energy that has a higher capacity factor than fossil fuels, and that's nuclear. We should be moving towards nuclear and renewables. and that would do absolute wonders for the world, as a whole. We wouldn't have to worry about like the Middle East as much with all the crazy shenanigans that go around there. If we weren't so invested in terms of like oil, a lot of the ships that travel across the ocean are just carrying oil. We could, we wouldn't have to deal with that. Like,
And
nuclear produces more, like I said, more energy, like per pound, so to say. So like, there's a whole lot of good reasons to get away from.
But there's also
fuel.
Jackson. But there's also solar power. If you are in the Netherlands, you will be aware that a lot of houses have their own solar power systems, and they're feeding back into the grid. That's how much power they generate.
Right.
Having that would I forgot. No, I forgot. Trump had said that if people put up solar panels, it's going to take away the sunlight for other people.
Smitty points out coal puts more radiation into the environment than nuclear. Yeah, and I mean coal is far more dangerous and obviously has a far higher carbon footprint than nuclear does. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, nuclear is so dangerous." It isn't. If you actually look in terms of like proportionally speaking, the number of people who die relating to nuclear events it is the lowest. It is like the safest. Actually, maybe solar surpasses it, but it's one of the two safest. Coal is way, way, way higher in terms of danger, but I believe nuclear has the smallest carbon footprint. Also, Peter, you have to worry about those windmills which cause cancer.
Yeah.
Trump said so.
Yeah, that's why the Dutch have the highest cancer rates, because we've had windmills for hundreds and hundreds of years now, and
Right.
yeah. There are also no birds here, by the way, Jackson.
Right, no birds.
Yeah, we've killed all of them.
Nuclear is safe in solar wind. That's what it is. Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously that just makes sense. Peter, I don't know if you saw, there was a show called Landman that was on in the U.S. The main actor was Billy Bob Thornton. It was it was a fine show. It was all right, but like, there's a scene in the show because it's in the Yellowstone universe, which is like pro, oil and natural gas and all that. There's a scene in the show where the main character takes this lawyer lady and he tells her like, "Oh, look at that windmill over there. It'll never repay its carbon footprint." Well, that's just not true. Windmills do repay their carbon footprint, and the larger that they are, the less time it takes. It only takes about a year. William Robert Thornton. Yes. It only takes about a year for a windmill to repay its carbon footprint. Only about a year. So anyway, okay, I'm sorry. I've talked long enough about this. We can keep going.
Yes, travel less. Those who deny the climate crisis are not just wrong, they're dangerous.
Actually,
Spreading
pause
the
for a
poison
second.
of doubt among a gullible...
I know, I'm sorry. I just thought. It said travel less. That's not true. You can travel as much as you want. The push is towards infrastructure, right? That is like communal, right? So you can have a public infrastructure, buses, rail systems, things like that, instead of driving your own car. So you can still go wherever the heck you want. No one's saying that you can't, but it's about having infrastructure that allows you to do that and more efficiently. That's the issue. Okay, anyway.
Population. These deniers should be shunned and shamed and censored.
Agreed.
For these climate deniers are flat earthers. They are anti-science.
That is also true.
Teaching at New York University is one of these climate deniers. Professor Stephen Koonin is one of America's leading physicists. He was a science advisor to President Obama and both vice president and provost of Caltech, one of the most prestigious scientific institutes.
So to see what they're doing, I want everyone who's watching to be aware of the propaganda, right? The propaganda here is they're saying, look, here's a guy who is very prestigious and probably deservedly so. He probably has a very good background in physics, right? And also he can play a piano, so he's very he's a cultured man, right? So the propaganda that they're setting up here is, well, here's a guy who has a good background, so he must know what he's talking about. So what they're about to pull is they're going to say, well, he is a great physicist, therefore you should listen to him about climatology. You can ignore all the physicists who work in climatology who say that climate change is real. You can ignore all the atmospheric chemists and all these other people. This guy is a worldly cultured man who has a background in physics. So you can ignore all the rest of them. Okay, that's what they're about to do. I just want to set that up. I know you're all aware of this. I just want to point that out. That's what they're going to do. Okay.
In the world.
I teach climate science to my students at NYU, and I always tell them, check the data or the papers yourself. And they all come out of that course with their eyes wide open.
Professor Koonin's best-selling book, Unsettled, argues that mainstream scientific studies, accepted by official agencies, do not support the notion that there is any kind of climate crisis at all.
Okay, pause for a second.
Of course, I've been called into...
Okay, so notice the shift in narrative already. What did they say? They said climate crisis. They didn't say climate change. They said climate crisis. They're using very particular wording here, and they're doing that because they want you to think that climate change equals some particular set of crisis level events, which it doesn't necessarily, of course, but it can, right? So you can say, so would you say, for instance, that declines in agricultural yield as a result of warming temperatures are a crisis? Maybe not. You could probably fairly say it's not a crisis right now. It's something to be aware of, but it's not a crisis. Are increased mortalities due to higher temperatures a crisis? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know if you would call it a crisis per se. We have data indicating that it's happening, but would you call it a crisis? I'm not sure. But the question here isn't necessarily is there a crisis. The question is climate change real? And is this being contributed to by the outpouring of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere? Those are the issues. And I'm curious to see, and I know I'll shut up, I'm curious to see if those are the actual questions that he will deal with. So let's see.
Another thing Smitty said, remember the Ken Ham debate where 90% of the talking of Ham's talking points were, look at this smart person who agrees with me. Recently, Professor Dave put out a video reviewing that debate because he hadn't seen it.
Oh, really?
And this was one of the things that he was kind of discussing, which made it for him to do a video that was an hour and a half long, I think, or close to 2. And he didn't get to the actual debate because all he did was, okay, here's another guy who agrees with me, and this guy agrees with me, and none of them are in the field that they're talking about, but they agree with me. Yeah. It's
right. Like that's the one I remember the best was the guy who, one of the guys who got credit for the MRI.
Yeah, who invented the MRI.
Ham was like, look.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't exactly invent the MRI, but he was one of the inventors, I guess we'll say. One of the people whose work contributed to the creation of the MRI. So this guy, whatever his name was, Ham is like, look, he is the creator of the MRI, and he agrees with me. Well, okay, he's like a biotechnologist or something. Like, why would I care what he thinks about evolutionary biology? Why on earth would I care?
Yeah,
not his job. So it's like it's
keyword Jackson, dentists. Lots of dentists.
Lots of dentists. Yes, I mean, Yeah, and occasionally, like, you can find so, like, I mean, Ken Ham, you're right, Smitty, does the exact same thing, right? Ken Ham has a bunch of biologists on the payroll. Georgia Purdom,
Hmm.
Nathaniel Jensen, uh, um, whoever the frick else, right? People who are actual biologists who, um, the guy who does who is the plant guy who did oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Um, the genome is like crumbling. Standing for Truth loves talking about him, and oh my gosh, we did a video about him a long time ago. Sanford, John Sanford, there we go. But yeah, like John Sanford's an actual biologist, but he's a creationist. So yeah, Tabula Rasa says even Isaac Newton had some ideas that were obviously wrong, and he's one of the smartest people that have lived. Right. Anybody can have crazy ideas.
Standing for Truth, isn't that the guy who is now pretending to be Kent Hovind on Twitter?
That is the guy. Actually, well, hold on. I don't know if it's Standing for Truth or Uncooked Matthew. It's one of them because
It's either
Uncooked
of the
Matthew
two.
runs.
Yeah.
He runs the Standing for Truth channel, so
Yes.
maybe Standing for Truth runs Kent Hovind's channel. But
I
yes,
don't-
you heard it here first, folks.
Yes.
Standing for Truth or Uncooked Matthew runs Kent Hovind's Twitter account.
Yeah. I was in a conversation and I got blocked almost instantly because I posted the car sales videos of our dear Donnie. It took just a few minutes
That's
for
really
me to
funny.
get blocked by the Standing for Truth Twitter account. And then they kept arguing, and someone brought up Hovind, and immediately Hovind on his Twitter account joined the conversation, speaking about himself in the third person, which he never does.
Right. Yes. Yeah, he
So-
was talking about himself saying he graduated here. Like,
Yeah.
he graduated here? What?
Yeah, I know. We do know that Hovind has had several slight strokes, even on video, while he was doing his show.
Right.
But he's still not.
With
He's still
Jackson,
not
yeah.
that far that he's talking about himself in the third person, like I don't know, some president. I forgot his name.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Alright, let's keep going.
really weird, and everyone said, "Hey, that's not Hovind. He doesn't even talk like Hovind. He uses scientific terms, which Hovind doesn't do."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wants to keep his words for the layman. So yeah. Okay, we
Yeah.
can keep going.
Denier. And my response is, tell me what I'm denying, because I'm quoting from you directly from the official UN scientific reports.
Dick
Oh,
Lindzen
this is a
also
guy
dismisses the
we've,
claims of climate alarmists. He's
we've
one of
talked
the
about him
world's
before.
leading meteorologists, was professor of meteorology at both Harvard University and MIT, and has served on the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC.
Yeah, he criticized their
Even
report.
the Intergovernmental
Remember?
Panel on Climate Change, if you go to their section of Group 1, which is the science, they don't support any of these claims. And
What
I
claims?
assure you,
Which
having
ones
served on it,
specifically?
it's biased. But you couldn't get any real scientists to agree some of the nonsense that's being promoted.
What claims?
Will Happer is also a denier, and is another of America's leading physicists. He has been science advisor to 3 presidents and professor of physics at both Columbia and Princeton University.
There's this mischievous idea that's promoted that scientific truth is determined by consensus. In real science, there are always arguments. No science is ever settled. It just
Give us
it's
a claim.
absurd when people say
A
the
claim.
science of climate is
Give us
settled. It's
one
not-
claim.
There's no such thing as settled science, especially
Give us
climate.
one singular claim.
Dr. John
Just
Clauser
one.
is one of the most respected scientists in the world. In 2022, he was awarded the Nobel Prize for Physics.
The science that's being done is appallingly bad, in my opinion.
Like
there are
what?
a large number of scientists who are in violent disagreement. They refer to themselves as
Like what?
skeptics. Since I am no longer worried about losing funding or a job, whatever, I call myself a climate change denier.
These
Oh, okay,
very
so he
eminent and
denies that
respected
climate
scientists
change
and others
happens?
like them are not flat earthers. They do not deny science. So what's the evidence that has caused them to dismiss the climate alarm as nonsense?
Okay, so pause for a second. Okay, so far we have only heard one person give a sort of position. Only one. Of all the people they just brought up, none of them gave specifics. They all said we're not climate alarmists. Don't know what they mean by that. I deny a climate crisis. Don't know what they mean by that. I'm a very smart person, don't know what they mean. But like, with the exception of the last guy whose name I missed, they didn't actually give any particular any claims really, or they didn't give any claims that we can actually, or any hypotheses. Smitty says the idea that water molecules are composed of one oxygen atom, two hydrogen atoms isn't settled. You're right. We'll never know the composition of water. This claim, I've heard it for a long time. And it's disingenuous at best, right? It's just disingenuous. Obviously, at like ground level, science is always tentative. That's just true. Okay. Science is tentative. You don't have absolute capital T truth in science. And also, when we have a theory, which is a very large body, a very large collection of facts that we've gathered, observations, experiments, and statistical models, and so on, and when they all confirm the exact same picture, we tend to say, hey, this seems pretty settled, at least on some of these points, right? Maybe not all the finer points are worked out, but the big picture is there. Evolution. There's never going to be a point in science in the future that does not incorporate evolution by natural selection as an underlying theme of biology. It won't happen. It's impossible at this point. There is no model, like there's no idea of physics or chemistry that does not include atomic theory, right? Or the oxygen theory of the atmosphere. There is no idea there'll be no model of astronomy that does not include the Big Bang theory. These are, at this point, beyond, like, they are beyond just like simple, like, oh, I don't believe that. Like, all of the data we've gathered in support of these ideas, even if you were to change the ideas themselves, cannot go away. Even if it turns out that the Big Bang theory is wrong, there was no Big Bang 14 billion years ago, the cosmic microwave background radiation still exists, right? The galaxies are all still moving away from each other. They're still getting, redshifted. These are still facts you have to account for, even if there was no Big Bang 14 billion years ago. You can't just throw out these facts. We know that natural selection happens. We know sexual selection happens. We know that speciation happens. We know mutations happen. It's just it's disingenuous. This is disingenuous. They know it's disingenuous. They are using it to be sneaky, to lie to you.
My biggest problem with all of that is that all of science is tentative for one specific reason, and that is if new evidence comes in, which would lead you to different conclusions, you have to be open to the new evidence. If you say that a certain thing is proven and shut down all research, you're not going to check new evidence when it comes in, and you might have something that is wrong in science, which would never be exposed. The weird thing is, who never exposes wrong things in science? Creationists.
What? Who? That's true. They sure don't.
Yes.
Neither do these climate change denialists.
Neither do the climate changes. Neither do flat earthers. They're all using the same method of working. It doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly right.
Shall we
We can keep going.
to the science?
We are told that current temperatures are unprecedented and dangerously high. It's possible
For
to
the
check if
last,
this is true,
like,
because we have evidence
300,000
of Earth's
years.
climate history dating back hundreds, thousands, even millions of years. The desert of
Peter,
Judea
wait,
by the Dead
pause.
Sea.
Okay, I'm making a guess. I'm going to make a prediction. They're going to say carbon dioxide levels were higher than today in the Cambrian. I'm making a prediction. That's my prediction, Peter. Are you ready to find out if I'm right?
Let's
find out.
Might be right.
Professor Nir Shavi from the Racka Institute of Physics has come here looking for clues. Thousands of years ago, this place was underwater, and etched into the rocks are lines which, if you know how to read them, tell the story of Earth's climate history.
Cool.
And here's the climate. We're at the lake bed of what used to be Lake Lisan. It's a lake that existed until the end of the last ice age. Back then, the lake level was maybe 100 meters above where we're located. When we want to reconstruct climates of the past, we have to look for evidence, for clues. And when the lake existed, it had deposits. And by looking at these layers here, we can actually reconstruct how the climate has changed.
Warmer water means more life, the accumulation of more shells and bones from sea creatures, and other changes that are reflected in the ancient layers of the lake bed. The lines act as a kind of thermometer, and this is just one way geologists can reconstruct past climate.
In other places, we can go to stalagmite caves and see the annual rings that you have in the stalagmite, or we can drill cores from the bottom of the ocean and then look at layers there, or many other places. But here, I think this is one of the nicest places because you can actually see, how the climate has changed.
So when we look back in time, what do we find? For 200 million years, dinosaurs roamed the
Those are very accurate depictions of dinosaurs and pterosaurs, by the way.
Yes, very
state-of-the-art science, no expense spared. Why is there so much black and white footage in this whole thing?
I don't know. Yeah, they used a black and white footage of like the lobsters and the starfish and stuff too. I don't really get it. It's like, why all the black and why all the black and white?
And
also,
cars
Peter,
from the 50s, 60s, and I like American cars from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, but they're not.
The rocks were there.
Yeah. Never mind.
So Peter, isn't it odd how they went immediately from like, okay, so this guy, the guy who they brought, whose name I don't even remember, but the guy was like, yes, here's a lake that existed just a few thousand years ago, and we can study the change in climate over the last few thousand years. And then suddenly we have a jump to dinosaurs.
Yes.
It seems a little odd to me that when we're talking about things that are unprecedented for humans, we would suddenly jump back to the dinosaurs who lived 66 million years before humans were around. That just seems dishonest.
Who died out at the Ice
Disingenuous?
Age, Jackson?
What?
The dinosaurs died out at the Ice Age because...
Oh, that's right. My mistake. I forgot.
I don't know. What I find frustrating is you've got this guy, you obviously flew him to a specific location to have him point at a layer and say, look, we can see the climate, but he doesn't explain what he is seeing and how he can see. Why even bring him there? He could have told us by just pointing at a picture. If he's not going to explain what he's seeing and how this is relevant, why even put the footage in there? Maybe we'll get to it. I don't know, but
yeah, maybe. Also, Smitty says, "Why use Night on Bald Mountain Rite of Spring was right there. These guys need to watch Fantasia. 100%. I completely agree.
Yeah.
That, yep. Rite of Spring was right there. Okay, let's keep going.
Earth. An Earth marked by fertile, dense forests, teeming with life. And at no time during those 200 million years were temperatures as cold as they are today.
That's so interesting.
If you go back, let's say, 200 million years, it was maybe 13 degrees warmer than it is now. So,
Wow.
from a geological perspective, this is not at all unprecedented.
Peter, here, pause. Peter, don't you know that the Earth was a ball of molten rock 4.5 billion years ago? So these climate nerds need to just shut up, because, like, obviously, the Earth was way hotter 4.5 billion years ago than it is today. Duh.
It was probably hotter when the first life forms arose around
It was
4 billion years ago.
about 4 billion years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. It was way hotter than it is today. So yeah, I mean,
Can't be a problem.
I just
Life emerged when it was hotter, Jackson. Imagine the amount of life we're gonna
Right.
get if the planet gets hotter, even still.
I mean, Peter, there are microbes that live in the hot spring geysers. So
Yeah.
what are we even complaining about? You know,
Mhm.
they clearly live in a hotter environment than we do.
Yeah.
This is just the trans dinosaurs confirmed. Exactly. Yes. Exactly. This is so disingenuous. This is so dishonest. This this claim, when we're talking about things being unprecedented, obviously we're talking about them in terms of humans. So the temperature right now and the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere right now is unprecedented for the last 300,000 years, I believe is what it is. That's pretty unprecedented for us, right? We've not had temperatures this high for the last 300,000 years, or consistently at least. And so for them to go, well, 500 million years ago, the temperature was 10 degrees higher, in terms of Celsius, like, that's not what we're talking about. I don't care. That is not the issue. You are deliberately obfuscating from the issue. So,
I love it how these
Yeah,
people
just-
are trying to refute science by showing us videos of refuted science, such as the dinosaurs we just saw. I mean,
that is
if you wanna look credible, then at least use footage based on the latest science on dinosaurs that might raise your credibility. It's easy for me
Alright,
to
let's do
say.
one more clip and then we'll
Credibility a
call
little
it.
bit.
Let's do one more clip and we'll call it.
Okay.
For the last 500 million years,
Yep,
temperatures
there's
have
the
varied
chart.
greatly. But
Yep.
for almost all that time, the Earth was much, much warmer than today.
Wow.
Compared to the last
Wow.
500 million years, the Earth right now is exceptionally cold. In fact, there are very
Cool.
few times when it's been this cold.
Cool.
We're relatively cold. Maybe not quite the coldest it's been in 500 million years, but pretty close to it.
We are in a remarkably cool period if we look over the last 550 million years. In fact, only one other time period in that last 550 million years was the temperature as cool as it is now.
The mammals who now inhabit the Earth began to evolve around 60 million years ago, when the world
Is
was
it
much
60
warmer than
million
today.
years ago?
If we just
right
look at the
now?
last 65 million years. So this is after the dinosaurs go extinct, mammals really start to take over, and our evolutionary ancestors start to live on the land. Any time
God.
period within the last
Okay.
Oh my god. These are the
Okay,
most
Work
ridiculous
with a
videos.
primatologist. I'm pretty sure that was not an ape that we just saw. It
I
wasn't
mean, I
even a
think it
real
was an
animal.
ape, but in another ape.
It was, yeah. I mean,
This is so dishonest. Every part of this is so dishonest. They keep it's like they will not acknowledge that our cities were built during this time period in which the Earth has been relatively cool or cold, whatever you want to call it. Okay, that's fine. This can be the coldest time in the history of ever. It's not. I mean, we literally had. Also, they had to skip the fact that we had glacial periods. Like, we have been colder in the past, obviously. We had entire glacial periods over the whole Earth multiple times. But anyway, we emerged in a cold period, right? We emerged in this colder period. Our cities were built in this colder period. And so as the temperature continues to climb into what is unprecedented for our civilization, that's going to have unprecedented consequences for us as a species. Like, why is this hard to grasp? I know why. It's not hard to grasp. They're liars. They lie for money. They lie for the oil industry. That's why they're doing this. Oh, these people are evil. Okay. Peter, do you want to add anything? Or are we going to call it?
I mean, we can call it.
Okay.
So, one more thing. Even if this is one of the coolest periods, we live in this period. And if it's getting hotter and it's going to threaten our way of life, does it matter that this is one of the cooler periods?
Right. Exactly. It doesn't. It shouldn't matter.
No.
It doesn't make any sense that this is even an argument that they're trying to use. Like, oh, well, it's been warmer in the past. Not in our lifetime as a species. It hasn't been this much warmer. Yeah, it's just really dishonest. This is an immensely dishonest tactic. The first, I watched some potholer videos, and he talks about what is his name? Like Lord Brinkley, the Viscount of Moncton or whatever. That guy also pulls this. He shows the chart and says, "Oh, look, it was way hotter when there were trilobites in the oceans." Like, I don't care. Yeah. I don't care. There are no trilobites anymore. They all died. We are the ones who are here now, and we are the ones having to deal with climate change. And so it's dishonest to say that, like, it's not really a problem. It's just dishonest. Anyway. Okay, so we'll obviously continue with Climate the movie. We didn't get very far, I don't think.
No.
We'll continue with it next time, and hopefully Nestle will be here and he can give us some pointers.
We got further than we did last week. Last week we covered 3 whole minutes. The last show we did on this, not last week. The last show we did on this.
I got you. Yeah.
We covered 3 whole minutes. And now we actually covered almost 7.5. So
woo!
More than double.
Look at us go. So. Actually, I was wrong. I was mistaken. Next week we'll have Craig on.
He still has to confirm. He said he can do it, and then I said I'll check with Jackson if it's okay. And then I asked him, okay, Jackson confirmed, can you confirm? And he hasn't replied to me yet, but it can be because he hasn't seen it yet. I sent him a tweet, which he might not have seen, because he's not the tech savvy guy. I may have to nudge him a few more times.
Okay, I got you. Well, just keep me informed, and I'll keep Dapper apprised as what happens. So,
if he pulls if he pulls out of the agreement, then we can still continue this next week. So it's not that we're looking for stuff to do. There's enough.
That's true. Yeah, we'll be satisfied for a while, I think. All right. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Peter. And thank you, everybody in the live chat, for watching. And we will see all of you next time. So, bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.